Hello everybody and welcome to my podcast, Unwinding It With Me. This is episode 36 and my name is Lisa and I'm coming to you from the South Island in New Zealand in Christchurch. So welcome back to all my existing viewers, thank you. And to any new viewers, welcome. I hope you enjoy the content. Please subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you like it, and that's always really appreciated. So this is my little part of the internet world where I talk about my knitting and my knitting journey, patterns, yarns, and what I've been up to. Finished objects, works in progresses, my successes with knitting, and also my failures, because I've got one today to share with you. So like I said, this is episode 36. And today is February the 22nd of February the 22nd, 2023. And I need to start today by acknowledging the terrible Cyclone Gabrielle that struck our North Island, which is not anywhere near I live, but the devastation that occurred from that earthquake, the cyclone, it's just devastating. It's heartbreaking. The houses, hundreds, maybe even thousands of houses have been destroyed. There's been loss of life, and of course a very big loss of livelihood, a lot of farms. So my heart goes out to everybody up there in the North Island, in the Hawke's Bay region that's been affected. And just know that as a nation, and I'm sure all around the world, our thoughts are with you. What I did, I wanted to do a donation to the Red Cross appeal that is supporting that district. So I put up for sale my last two leather project bags, a small and a large, and 100% of those proceeds I have donated to the Red Cross appeal. And I just wanted to show you that I did that this morning, the Red Cross appeal, and I donated $340. So one bag got sold to a lady, I haven't got the name with me, in Auckland. She bought the large black leather project bag, so thank you. And I just want you to know that all the proceeds have gone to the Red Cross appeal, and there's one more small tan one left. That's the last one. I have already donated those proceeds, but if you want to buy it, it's still on my website, and if not, I'll probably keep it for myself because it is the last one and I love them. I have got more coming, but I'll talk about that later. So I know that this knitting community is so generous. I just love being part of it, and I know that everybody will be doing something in their own little way, but I really wanted to do that, and I thought what better way to do it than with the two last leather bags that I had. So that's done. The other thing I needed to acknowledge, which is really close to my heart, is today is the 12th anniversary. February the 22nd at 12:51, we had a devastating earthquake here in Christchurch. It was a 6.2 earthquake that really destroyed our city here. I just wanted to put that out there. It's really quite heartbreaking for me. It's 12 years and we've certainly rebuilt our city and we've moved on. But the trauma of that sticks with you. 185 people died in that event. I just wanted to do a wee little memorial speech about that. And the good side to that, or the flip side to that, is here in Christchurch we have one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It's been rebuilt, so we've always got that to fall back on if ever we think about the devastation of the earthquake. But Mother Nature is just out there, and it's all over the world. I'm aware of that there's just tragedy. What's happened in Turkey is heartbreaking. And I'm sure that everyone in their own little way sits back and reflects on some of those tragedies. But on a positive note, we have to move on and we have to talk about knitting. So I just wanted to say that everything I talk about in my podcast, yarn, patterns, tutorials, other podcasts that I may watch, I leave show notes. So you can go into the description box below and all of my show notes will appear for any information or links that you may be after. Also, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook as Unwind to Knit with Me. It's really easy. It's Unwind to Knit with Me on all 3 platforms. And so please jump over and like or follow the Facebook and the Instagram page. But that we also have a community Facebook group, which is growing really nicely. And that's where I post some of what I'm doing, but it's where you can post what you're doing and I can see what you're doing and everybody can interact with each other. So, yeah, they're all the social media platforms that you can find me. I have just got back, that's what I've got to say too. There's sort of, you know, bad things happen and tragedies happen, but also good things happen. My husband and I headed south for 2 weeks. It was our 2-week holiday. We often take 2 weeks off once all the school kids go back and things are a little bit quieter. And we had an amazing 2 weeks down in South Central, which is Queenstown, Wanaka, that sort of Lakes district. Amazing weather, but it was super, super relaxing where we just kicked back. I did a lot of knitting. He did a lot of reading of books, some bike rides. He did lots of running. So I do actually feel really quite relaxed, and I really feel like I've had 2 weeks off. You know, sometimes you come back and you feel a bit exhausted, but I did just want to share that with you that, yeah, we did have a really nice 2 weeks. And if you do follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you probably would have seen some of the photographs and videos that I posted. It really is one of the most beautiful scenic areas, I would say, in the world. So that was really good, really nice. What I'm wearing. I have worn this before. I'm wearing my Winter Beach cardi by Andrea Mowry. Yes, I've all seen it before. And I actually didn't know what to wear because what's happened is we've actually had about 3 days consecutive of 30 degrees. It's been really, really hot. So my house is really hot, but it's actually really cold today. We've had a southerly change and it's raining and it's grey, which I'm really happy about because we really need the rain. But I actually didn't know what to wear. So I just put on a cardigan because I know I'm going to need to take it off. But I love this cardigan. I encourage anybody to knit it. I did mine in this yarn, which is the Appledore DK in the colour Quench. And I am so, so happy. This is such an amazing wearable piece. And I just thought I'd show you this one because it's a bit closer to the colour that Andrea did. This one's called Sheep's Nose. And my friend is doing her Winter Beach cardi in this colour. So, I mean, there's about 16 colours in that range. But, yeah, so if you've been following me, you're probably sick of hearing about Andrea's Winter Beach cardi, but I do like to share with you what I am wearing. I did this in a size 3 and I did it exactly to pattern, the same needle size. The ribbon was done on a 4mm and the body of the cardigan was done on a 5mm, and it's all cable and moss stitch. It's bottom up. It's a 3-needle bind off that you use on the shoulders, and then the arms are just stockinette stitch with some ribbing. And I did the pockets, but can't speak highly about that pattern, and I really recommend it if you want just a nice cardigan. What do you call it? Seasonal for days like today when I know I'm going to be hot and cold. So that is what I am wearing. I have a half-finished object, and I'm sure that counts. And I'm looking around trying to find where I've put everything. I may have left it out there. One moment. You know, it doesn't matter how organised I think I am. I make notes and I have a little plan, but I always forget something. There's always something that's not in arm's reach. I think today's going to be a really chatty episode. I have got a lot to talk about. So I do hope you got yourself a cup of tea and knit in, and I hope you're just happy to kick back, because I've got a lot to say today. It's a bit like being in a knit group, isn't it, where you're sitting at the table, but there's always that one person that needs to talk a lot. So think of this as a knit group, and I'm that one person at the end of the table that won't shut up. I've got so much to talk about, and it probably helps that I am feeling quite relaxed after my break. My half-finished object is my second pair of Andrea Mowry DKR Everyday Socks. Now, I did my first pair in January, finished them in January, love them. This is now my favourite sock pattern, and I know that a lot of you, my viewers, did leave comments below, and you've also gone and bought this pattern, and I have had a couple of messages of people that have finished them, and they agree with me. So this is my half-finished object. Now look, this is what I love, and it's just such an easy increase of the gusset there. You start, it's toe-up, and it's a Turkish cast on, which I won't lie, it actually takes me 2 or 3 times to get it right. And it's just the whole sock's done in a 2x2 rib. I do a very stretchy bind off because I need that extra give in the towards the top of my legs. The bind off I use, and I'm going to leave a link below, and the best tutorials I like are very pink knits tutorials, and it's called a simple stretchy bind off, and it's where you knit 2 into the back of the stitch. So you knit 1, knit 2, knit them together in the back of the stitch, pass your 1 stitch back to the left needle, again knit 2, knit those 2 through the back, and repeat. But the bind off, you can actually see how stretchy that is. And for a lot of, like, I'd never use this bind off on a cuff or a band, but it's a really good bind off for socks. So I will leave the link below for that tutorial if you want to try that cast off. The other thing I did, because I think it says to cast off in pattern, which is 2x2 rib, but I did my last row, I did a complete knit round, and then I cast off all in knit. I didn't want to cast off in the 2x2. Don't ask me why, because I think it was just easier to cast off in knit. No particular reason. So that's my half-finished object. And the yarn I used, I'll show you. It's a self-striping yarn by a dyer here in New Zealand, and it's called Mrs. Peacock's Yarns. And I love these self-striping yarns, and I have a lot of respect for people that dye them, because I know the work that goes into dyeing self-striping yarns. She sells these on her Etsy shop, Mrs. Peacock's Yarns. I have been in touch with her, and I know that she's really low on stock at the moment because of other things that have gone on in her life. I think she had a wrist injury, and it's prevented her from restocking. But as soon as she's restocked, I will get another ball of her yarn, and I will talk about it, because I like to promote New Zealand dyers and designers whenever I can. So that's Mrs. Peacock's Yarns Etsy shop, but she hasn't got any stock at the moment. I think that's all I've got to say on those socks. I should show you the pattern. I don't think I've shown you the pattern before, but it's I will leave the link below for it. It's a paid for pattern on Ravelry, and it's called DKR, which actually stands for Drea Renee Knits Everyday Socks. I'll leave the link below. I normally like to show you the pattern. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to my whips. And what I'll tell you about my whips is I did get quite a lot done. Because I was away for 2 weeks, I had to pack my knitting basket. so that's all I had to work on, because quite often when I'm at home, there's always that temptation to cast on something new, especially when I've got new patterns, and I've got a lot of new patterns to show you. So it was really nice that that temptation wasn't there, that I could just focus on my whips at hand and I wasn't distracted. So that was quite a positive. So I have been working, this is all of my episodes. I think about my last 6 episodes have been really top heavy with Andrea Mowry. So I hope you're an Andrea fan, because a lot of my patterns have been hers, but I have got a lot to show you that aren't hers. So this is Sprite by Andrea Mowry. And what appealed to me about this pattern was the simplicity of a top-down yoke sweater. But I had never done this corrugated rib before, and I wanted to do that. I love a bit of lace work in the yoke, and I also love bobbles. So quite a few things here appealed to me. Now I'm knitting this in the yarn, it's in my shop, it's called Yarnadelic, and it's from the UK, and it's a sports weight yarn, and it's beautiful, soft to the skin yarn. I won't go on about that, but I will leave the link below if you do want to jump on the website and have a look. So I made some really good progress on this. For about the first week, I just knitted on the body, which was super easy. It was just plain knitting. And what I often do is I often stop halfway when I'm doing the body to do the sleeves. And the reason I do that is because once I've done the sleeves, it feels a lot more completed, and I never get sleeve island. I never get stuck on sleeve island. I do my sleeves, and then it feels so completed that then I just, I'm really happy just to get it finished, because it's like over 3/4 finished. So I worked on the body, and then I picked up the stitches and I've cast on one sleeve. And I'm almost, I think I've only got 1 or 2 more decreases to go, and then I do the rib. But what I will do is I will stop here, and then I'll do my other sleeve, and then I'll try it on, because then I know that I'll get the length of the sleeves exactly right. Yeah, so that's what I'll do. I'll stop, and then I'll cast on the other arm, and then try it on. So I'm definitely over halfway. But what I wanted to talk about here was the 2 options when you decrease for your sleeve. Now in the pattern, Andrea says to decrease every 3 centimeters, or 1.25 inch, 3 centimeters. And I thought I would just tell you that, because there's 2 options, and I always choose the other option. So when a pattern calls for decrease every 3 centimeters, I work out my 3 centimeters, but I count my rows, and I go, okay, every 7 rows is 3 centimeters. So I just mark off all my rows with pen and paper, and I do my decrease every 7th round, because I really don't like getting out my tape measure and measuring continually. So I thought I would just show you. So what I did in this case is I did both options. I decreased every 7th round, but I also popped a pin in just to measure, to make sure that my theory was correct. And it is spot on. So my point there is, if you don't like measuring every 3 centimeters, which I think is terribly tedious, just work out how many rows is in your 3 centimeters, and do your decrease every 7th row, or every 4th row, or 8th row, whatever it works out to be. So I thought I'd just share that with you. So you really don't need these pins, and you really don't need to measure it. Sleeve decrease, yeah, and I wrote that in my notes that I'd actually talk about that measurement versus how many rows, but you'll work it out. Yeah, but there are always those 2 options, I think. I don't think I've really got too much more to say about this, other than I just wanted to show you my progress. I'm really happy with that lace work. I'm really happy with the bobbles. I'm really happy with my colour choice. I really wanted to use this rust colour. In my last episode, I did have a gauge issue. Huge gauge issue, and a lot of you viewers come back and left comments and said that's really normal with Andrea's patterns, that there are a lot of people out there that have to play around with gauge with her patterns. But anyway, I got there, and I'm really happy, and I am going to continue to work on that, and who knows, that could be a finished object in my next podcast. Because of course we're coming into autumn, so it'll be a really nice lightweight sort of seasonal jersey. This is not going to be a really heavy jersey. The gauge is quite loose and it's really quite lightweight, and this yarn is really light and airy as well. So that's, I'm going to throw that down on the floor. That's my first work in progress, and I'm really happy with the progress I made. Yeah, so that's Sprite, and I will leave all the links below. Now, my next work in progress is in here. It's in one of my large, this is the large project bag, but I've actually sold out of these. I thought I'd show you the bag I'm using. Sorry, like I said, it doesn't matter how organised I think I am. I'm never that organised. So at the beginning of this year, Stephen West brought out, I don't know what you'd call it, Year of Socks. Sock knitting is relatively new to Stephen West, I think, just sort of new within the last couple of years. And then he just, in typical Stephen West style, ran with it. And so I signed up to the Year of Socks, which meant that every month for the rest of this year, I get a new pattern, drops into my Ravelry library. You don't have to do that. Once they're released, you can go and buy them as you want. There was a cost advantage at the time if you signed up for the year. But this is the January sock, and it's called Cabled Trellis Socks. And I just want to mention, there's no way that I'm going to keep up with one pair a month. It's just not going to happen. I may get 4 pairs done, but every month I will show you the new pattern that's been released. But this is the Cabled Trellis sock. The other thing that excites me about this, with Stephen West, you always learn new techniques. Now I went into my stash. I have got a box of sock yarns. I went into my stash and I found these colours, and I don't know why I ever bought them because they're not in my comfort zone type of colours. But hey, Stephen West, you can do whatever you want. And I found these 2 colours. Now this is a New Zealand sock yarn. It's an 80-20 blend. It is a sock yarn that I have in my store, but not in these colours. So this is the New Zealand Merino sock yarn that I'm using. It's beautiful yarn. And I've got to say, this pattern, I can only knit it when I'm home alone. I have to concentrate. I have to follow the pattern very closely. And so it's not the sort of thing that I can do sort of when I've got hubby and that around. As a knitter, I'm sure you're going to appreciate this. Do you ever get accused of being antisocial? I have to be really conscious of that if I'm knitting and my family's around, because I get so in the zone of what I'm doing that I don't like being interrupted, and I do come across quite antisocial. So I do have to pick my projects for certain times of the day and depending on who's around. But I did have some time on my own when we were away. My husband went out and did a few big runs. And this is the progress that I have made. Now, I've only got half a triangle. It's a diamond. I've only got another half a diamond to go, and then I will start on the heel. So I am really, really happy with that progress. What I will say, if you want to give them a go, the pattern calls for a 2.25 mil. And I started in a 2.25 mil. The band is in a 2.25. But I got a little way up here and I made a mistake and I had to rip it back. I think I had about 3 rip backs on this. Put in a lifeline. But what I found is, because you're carrying yarn, this actually produces quite a dense fabric. This pattern, it's quite a dense fabric. So I actually decided to go up to a 2.5 mil needle, and I'm a lot happier with it. Some sock yarns are a lot finer than this, and I'm sure a 2.25 would be great. But I think this yarn, it's only a finger in weight, but it's, yeah, I don't know how to describe it, but the fabric is quite dense. So see how you go. You might want to play with your needle size. I'm really happy with that, and I really want to make some more progress, because it is the January sock. I am going to show you the February sock. Put that here. I'll show you that now. I was going to show it to you in my at the end. I have got a few new patterns that when I was away, I saw them on Instagram or Ravelry, and that is one thing I did when I was away. I purchased some new patterns. So I'll show you this just to get you a wee bit excited. That was the free pattern that you got, and this is a paid for pattern on Ravelry, and it's called Paint in Bricks. So once again, you can see that he's just using some really amazing colours. And if you've got that box or that bowl at home with all your scraps of sock yarn, these patterns are perfect. Now, this is the February pattern that come out, and it's called Paint in Triangles. This one's only got 3 colours. I love the 3 colours that he's used, yellow, blue and purple. So Paint in Triangles. So if you are a sock knitter and you want to get a little bit adventurous, I really recommend that you go over and have a look at these Stephen West sock patterns. You can also buy them direct from his website. Excuse me. They are on his website, and they are on Ravelry. I always prefer to purchase from Ravelry because then all my patterns are in one place. They're all in that library. Although I do tend to download them and back them all up on Dropbox. I always get scared, but I don't know if that website ever crashes. It's nice to have a backup, but I'm also very old school where I still like to print out my patterns. I love the paper copy. I'm just going to have a drink. Okay, what was my next whip? Okay, so my next whip was a whip, and now it's something that I have to undo. And is the word, do I have to frog it? Does that mean completely undo it? But what I want to say, I am going to start again. I had a bit of an epic failure. So when you saw me last, I was casting on this cardigan, the Agnete cardigan by Petite Knits. Now, she's used a finger and weight yarn held together with mohair. I love double-stranded with mohair, but I didn't want to do it in this. I wanted to do it just in a DK sort of merino. And the reason I really wanted to do this is because it's brioche, but it's one colour brioche. And I thought that would be a really good way to start because I haven't had much luck with brioche, but it is something that I want to do. So I made a start on this pattern. And the other thing I love about this pattern is the double knit bands. They're beautiful. They've got a lot of structure to them. And I think I've done them before, but it was another new technique. So this single colour brioche and the double knit band really appealed to me. I did have to watch a tutorial a couple of times. I had to repeat it a few times to teach myself how to do the increases in brioche. Now, I'm going to show you this because I am so happy. So that's the double knit band. Now this is the back of the neck, and then you knit down your back, and then you knit your left and your right. So I taught myself this double knit band, and then I started in brioche, and you do these series of increases on each side. See them there? And this was really addictive. I'm going to show you this because you can see it. See these wee lines across here? That's where I had my lifelines. I did use lifelines, and I've still got a lifeline in there somewhere. But I know that that would block out when I remove the lifeline. But that's what those lines are from. And it was really addictive, and I loved knitting it. And I took it off to my knit group on Monday and showed my friend who was really good with brioche, and she was going to help guide me through this process. And she said to me, "Did you swatch?" I said, "No, it's brioche." I didn't swatch. My gauge is too tight. So the pattern calls for like a DK weight yarn, a 3mm needle, which I got my head around the fact that you often use a smaller needle when you do brioche. And I did feel that it was quite tight. It was tighter than I normally knitted. But anyway, we did a wee measurement, and we decided that my gauge was off by about 4 stitches. And I decided just to pull it out and start again. So that is what I've done. I've ripped my needle out there, and I'm going to unravel this. But I wanted to show it to you because not everything is a success. The other thing that really bothered me is brioche takes up a lot of yarn, and when I sat down with my friend, we probably worked out that I actually wasn't going to have enough yarn. I had 5 skeins of this DK that was a custom dye, so I knew I wasn't ever going to be able to get any more of it, and we worked out that I was probably about 3 skeins short. So everything about it was an epic failure. So I'm ripping it out. I'm going to rewind this yarn. The reason I bought this yarn was actually to do another basic raglan. I've done before the Hohi Locatelli basic raglan, and I love those sweaters in the winter. I just love them. I love the fit, the style, and that's why I bought this yarn originally. So that's my epic failure. This yarn is going to go back to what it was originally intended for. And I'm going to find some yarn to do this, and I'm going to start again. I went through my stash, and I didn't have any DK yarn that I thought was suitable. And I don't want the only DK yarn I stock is this Appledore, and I didn't want to use this either. I wanted more of 100% merino. So I am going to go shopping, and I'm going to find some yarn for this, and I'm going to start again. So, and I'm quite excited about that because I really enjoyed it, and I'm actually excited to go and buy some yarn. Isn't that bad? But I'm going to go and buy some yarn for that. So that was my epic failure. Okay, I can close that book now. And it does happen. Yeah. I've got some new cast-ons that I want to do. I've actually only got 1 new cast-on. My Agnete cardigan, I've actually got 2 more that I really want to do. But that's quite ambitious, so I'm going to pace myself here and not get caught up too much. So I'm going to show you my new patterns, that I've come across. Okay, I'm just going to get them. Okay, get myself organised again. This is a little bit repetitive because I'm rehashing some things from previous podcasts because the things that I've shown you that I want to cast on that I haven't, but I'm going to, like probably this week. So I like when I can to feature New Zealand designers or New Zealand yarn. But this pattern I've shown you before, it's by Elizabeth, and she's from the local area where I live. And just written here, Amikihia Knits is the name. And this pattern is called Sky Watching. Now there's lace work around the top, and there's a big band at the bottom, and it's just a cardigan that I know that I want in my wardrobe. I love the designer, and the yarn that she used was this high twist dark denim. Now this is one of this is also 100% New Zealand merino, and it's milled here in New Zealand and dyed here. And it's, I'm going to see if that shows up. Can you see the high twist? You can see the high twist in that. And this colour is called dark denim, and it's the most popular colour in this range. I have knitted in this colour before. I've got another jersey upstairs in this colour. I'll show you my swatch. There's the swatch. Now, as I've always said before, with indie dyed yarn, you should always alternate skeins to prevent pooling, because not every skein is identical. So, yeah, that's my word of advice. Always alternate your skeins, because there will be variations. But that's the dark denim. And it was always my plan to do this pattern in this yarn. But earlier this week when I got home, I swatched, I wanted to do some swatches to put these on my website. So this colour is called Volcanic. And I love it. But I did the swatch and I love it way more. Like it's just knitted up so beautiful. And it's just got gold and beige and grey. And that is how it's knitted up. And I can just see myself in this colour. I don't wear yellow. I can't wear yellow. But I really enjoy this colour. So it's called Volcanic. And so now I'm not sure what colour to use. But do you know what? I think I'm going to use Volcanic, because I have already got a jersey in this colour. So that was, I was going to show you that in my shop update. But I'll show it to you now. Isn't it beautiful? And I just love this, I don't know, it's greys and beiges and taupe. It's just got so many colours. So that yarn, I've actually made up my mind 100% now. I was still sort of 80-20, but I'm going to use that yarn in that cardigan. And I'm going to cast that on this week, because I want another cardigan. That is that pattern that I've come across. And I did show you, but these are now new ones. So, it's this bag. When I was away, I did watch a couple of podcasts, but I think it was actually on Instagram. I can't remember whether it was Instagram, but anyway, actually it might have been a podcast. And I saw this beanie pattern. And I like doing beanies. I want to do some more beanies this year for gift knitting. As you know, I've been doing those DKR socks, and I've been doing my Stephen West socks. And they're going to go in a box for gift knitting for the end of the year. But I also want to do some beanies to also go in that box for gift knitting. Now, I come across this beanie, and it's a Sari Nordlund, and I like her. I have done her patterns before. And it's called the Robin Beanie. That's it there. There's a picture of it in a more neutral colour. Now, what is different about this beanie is it's actually, you knit it from the top down. So you can try it on as you go to make sure you get the brim the right size. Now, in this pattern, they recommend like a triple fold brim. And I get that if you live in a really cold climate, that you want that big, thick brim to cover your ears, and it would be beautiful. But I think here in New Zealand, in our climate, I'll only do a single fold, a double fold brim, not a triple. But yeah, it's top down. And the other thing that appealed to me about that is you can cast it on like very quickly, like an evening's knitting, and then it can become like travel knitting or, you know, knit group knitting, because all you're doing is knitting a cylinder. You're just knitting straight down once you've done that cast on for the crown. Now, I had a look and I didn't cast it on because I needed to have a look at the tutorial. It's a completely different cast on that I have never done anything like it before, and the link for the cast on is in the pattern. It is a paid for pattern on Ravelry, but you do this really unique cast on, and then you knit your crown, and then you get your strand of yarn that you leave hanging out and you pull it and you draw it in. Isn't that clever? So instead of doing that really tight little sort of cast on and coming out, you do, yeah, have a, you know, you need to have a look at the pattern. I was telling my friends about it in knit group, and one of the ladies said, oh yeah, I've done something similar to that in crocheting, where you do, you sort of cast on and then you pull it and draw like a drawstring to close up the crown. So that's the Robin Beanie by Sari Nordlund and paid for pattern on Ravelry. And it looks like a 2x2 rib. So it would be really easy knitting once you do that cast on. It would be like car knitting or TV knitting. And what I've done is I've gone through my stash. I'm trying to be really good this year with my stash. It's a DK weight yarn. You can use a four ply double stranded with mohair, which I think she's done in the pattern. And I think she uses a 3mm needle. I might have that wrong. Don't quote me on that. But I went through my stash and I have found some beautiful yarn to do a couple of these in. This is touch yarn. This is a New Zealand 100% pure merino. And I love this colour rust, but I also know that some of the men in my life, my husband and the daughter's boyfriend, would wear this colour. So I've got a couple of balls of that in my stash that I'm going to use. I also found this beautiful, I don't know where I got it from, I don't even know what it is, but it looks like a DK. But I could even double strand this, but I found this in my stash and I love it, and I don't know why I haven't used it or what I bought it for, but that is going to become one of these beanies. And then I found these in my stash that I do remember buying them, and I remember buying them thinking they'll be good for beanies, and they just went in my stash and I've never used them. It's a British blue, it's called. I did buy it from a New Zealand, from a shop here in Christchurch. But they're two neutral colours, sort of greys, taupes. But I found them in my stash, so they are also going to become Robin beanies. And the other yarn that I found in my stash, and I know this is 100% merino undyed, and it's a finger in weight, and I've got quite a few of these, because maybe I was going to dye it. I don't know. It smells so good. It actually smells like mothballs. I put mothballs in my bins with my stash yarn. And I'm going to double strand this, and I'm going to do a couple of white ones. So, and I've got all of that in one bag here. And they are all going to become beanies. And I think I'm going to be able to knock a couple of them out quite quickly. Because it's DK weight and it's just a beanie. So I wanted to share that one with you. I will leave the link below for it. Very basic beanie, but I thought it was quite unique because it was top down. The other pattern I will show you quickly. So once again, this appeared on my Instagram while I was away. But it was a free pattern, but it was only free for, I think, the weekend, like for 48 hours. So it's not free anymore, but I thought I'd show it to you anyway. And it's called the Lure Shawl. And I'm not a big shawl knitter. I've knitted a couple. I don't wear them a lot, but I know a lot of you do knit shawls. So I thought I'd show you this. It's called Lure. And it's a 3-colour shawl. And it's only one skein of each, I think a 400 metre skein of each. And once again, I thought it would be a good stash buster. Shawls often are. But it's Lure by Mutch. Hypnotic stripes broken up by striking red short row sections make this short an alluring accessory. Yeah, I thought I'd show that with you. I'm not going to cast it on. It will just go into my folder. I wouldn't have purchased it because, like I said, I don't have many shawls, but it was free. And, yeah, I thought I'd share that with you. Now, this one also I come across while I was away. I think I saw this one on a podcast, and I can't remember the name of the podcast. It's two, I think they're sister-in-laws in England. But it's called the Burgos by Rosa Pomar, which I think is it a Spanish yarn company? Rosa Pomar. I don't know. Don't quote me because I'm really not good with that kind of thing. Now I'm going to show you this picture. I showed this picture to friends in my knit group and they went, that's a bit average. Like, what are you thinking, Lisa? And I went, oh no, but have a look at the other picture. And then they went, oh yeah, now I can see why it appeals to you. So, best I show you, right? The Burgos, it's a vest. And it's a deep V button-up vest. And it's in DK weight yarn. But this is the picture that actually appealed to me. There's a selection of ladies wearing this vest in different colours, different sizes, and this is where it really appealed to me. And in this photo, they're all wearing it open over a dress or a t-shirt. Where that one there, she's wearing it closed with nothing under it. But it, yeah, really appealed to me. I think, well, I know vests are really in and they're really popular at the moment. Once again, it would be a quick, easy knit, being DK. And I decided that I want to do this vest in a darker, moodier type colour. No surprises there. And I've pulled out 4 colours that I think I like them all, and I haven't decided which one, but I'm going to show them to you. So this is in the DK Appledore range. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this last one, it's called Foxwolf. This is the colour I'm leaning towards. I suppose you'd call it a dark brown, but you can see sort of flecks of gold in that. Foxwolf is the one I think I'm going to go with. Wimple Wonder is a really nice neutral. Dufflin, now this really appeals to me as well. It's like that other colour I've got in another range called Beetle's Wings, where you get these pops of, not pops, but almost iridescent colours coming out. Actually, that would be my second choice. And this one is called Slackmagirdle. I think these are all named after apples. And this is like a, I don't know, it's almost like a light plum. But yeah, you can see all those other colours in there. So I really want to cast this vest on, the Burgos. I will leave the link below if you think this vest might be something you might like. It is a paid for pattern on Ravelry. I'll leave the link below, and I will also leave the link to this yarn if you think that maybe any of these colours might appeal to you. But actually, those two now are my 2 favourites. I have to decide now which colour out of those 2. It might be a eeny, meeny, miny, mo situation, or just stab in the dark, because I actually really like them both. Maybe the dark brown suits my complexion better. Anyway, that's the other pattern I come across. I did tell you this was like, I knew this was going to be a really chatty episode. I just feel like I've got a lot to talk about. I've shown you Stephen West February sock. I've shown you the Lewis shawl. I'll just touch on this quickly. Now, this is the Calypso sweater by Alana from Black Cat Knitting. Once again, a New Zealand designer, and the top colour work requires 2 skeins of the spin cycle, which I've got in my stash. So I talked to you about it last time because I hadn't decided what colour I was going to do the body in, and I was going to use my Yarnadelic sports weight yarn to do it in. But the pattern actually calls for Rowan felted tweed, and I haven't used Rowan felted tweed, and one of my friends said to me, Lisa, it's beautiful, you've got to try it, it's really lightweight, it's airy, all these positives. So I've actually decided I'm going to buy the yarn that is stated in the pattern, which is that Rowan felted tweed. I had a quick look online, and it's not cheap, but it's not out of the ballpark either. It's an affordable yarn, I think. Certainly a lot more affordable than Spin Cycle. So, and I also saw on Instagram Alana wearing this, and I think she might have been at Vogue Knitting. I might have that wrong, but she was at a wool festival somewhere wearing this sweater. So it's paid for, it is on Ravelry, and once again, it's always good to support New Zealand designers if you're in New Zealand. But even if you're in the other part of the world, please support New Zealand designers. Yeah, so that's, I will show you. I did show you last time. So they're the 2 spin cycles that I've got in my stash. Now, the pattern calls for 1 colour. I'm actually going to use these 2 because I don't want to spend any more money. I don't want to buy Spin Cycle when I have 4 skeins in my stash, but they're 4 different colours. But I think I can just blend one into the next, because that's what they do anyway, don't they? The colours shift a lot. I just have to decide. I'm not going to use the colour that she's used because I know that I really can't wear yellow. So I just have to go to my local yarn store that sell it and have a look at the colour range. I will take this with me and I will decide then what colour I'm going to use. So I did talk about that last time, so I'm being a little bit repetitive. But it's on my list of things that I'm working on. What's next? Oh, yes. This is a big one. When I went into my stash for yarn for the beanie, it was like a bit of a rabbit hole. I got stuck in there for a while. And my stash is not that big. It's for, you know, your big 20-litre storage boxes. It's 4 of them. So it's not ridiculous. This isn't my stash, this is my shop. But I come across this yarn. Now, this yarn actually cost me a lot of money. I bought it at a wool fest maybe 3 years ago, maybe even 4. And at the time, I bought it to do a fade. And I've never done a fade before, and I never used it. I actually tried, and I got muddled up with the pattern, and I didn't like it, so I ripped it out. Now, this is Yarn Therapy. This is a New Zealand dyer, and this yarn is Merino linen single. So it's 90% superwash merino, 10% linen. And like I said, it wasn't cheap. Now, I've got that colour. Let's see if I can show you these. I'll just show you what it, like, there's those 2. Then there's that one. And then there's a pink. So there's these 4 colours. Okay, 1 of each. And then, oh, there's the 5th one there. And the 5th one is a purple. So we've got purple and pink. And then these blues there. So these 5 colours I bought for a fade. They're all the same yarn. And I saw them there thinking, oh, Lisa, you really should use those. They cost you a lot of money. It was a silly purchase at the time. But then, oh, where's my pattern? I just gotta find my pattern. Okay, sorry about that. So I've got my 4 skeins of very nice yarn in a fade. And then I remembered while I was away seeing this pattern popped up on Instagram. So I jumped onto Ravelry. Yes, it was yesterday or the day before I went through my stash. Jumped onto Ravelry. I knew it was a Hohi Locatelli pattern. It's a new pattern called La Prairie. La Prairie by Hohi Locatelli. Now, if you're on social media or you've dived into Ravelry, I'm sure you've seen it because when she launches a new pattern, it's normally quite a big deal. She's a very good designer. I'm just going to see if I've got another picture. Sorry, ruffling paper. I don't normally like doing that. Ah, there it is there. So there's the back. Now she's used 5 colours, 100 gram of each, 100 gram, 400 meters, which is exactly what that is. Now this is a very busy cardigan and it's got lots and lots of bubbles. And it's got this wavy, I don't know if you can, yeah, but you can see it there, it waves. There's a real lot going on in this cardigan. But it is a fade. It calls for 5 skeins. And I thought it would make a really good, this pattern, if I can do it, I know I can do it, it's just when I have time to do it, it would make a really good use of that yarn in my stash that I really should use. Because I'm quite disappointed with myself that I spent so much money. Because there's probably $200 or $300 worth, New Zealand dollars worth of yarn there. So I've got it out. I've got it in my bag. I've got the pattern and they've been matched up. And the balls have even been wound. So all I've got to do is cast on, right? That is what's happening with that. So I feel really quite happy and satisfied that a lot of what I've shown you today has come out of stash, like the spin cycle that come out of my stash, the sock yarn, that Mrs. Peacock's yarn that was gifted to me a year or 2 ago, that come out of stash, of course the yarn I just showed you. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy about that. I am using stash. There was one more pattern that I will show you, and I won't go on about it too much because I haven't read much about it, but the New Zealand designer I mentioned before, Elizabeth, from Amikihia knits. I'm not good with pronunciation, but this, I come across this and it's called the Camellia hat. And I have done something similar before in this yarn, which is Jameson and Smith. Now I had a look at these colours, and she hasn't used Jameson and Smith. I think she's used a New Zealand yarn, but I come up with these 4 colours, which would be perfect for this beanie. So if you're thinking that you want to do a little bit of, if you want to do a beanie with a little bit of colour work and you like the combination that she's got there, I have put those 4 together, and I will leave a link for these. I know in New Zealand we're in summer, and a lot of us probably aren't thinking about beanie knitting as such. And I don't even know why this has come onto my radar, because I have actually lost my mojo for colour work. But I thought, wow, I mean, I've got those 4 colours. Like, it's a match made in heaven, those. So I think that was the last. I think that was the last of the patterns I wanted to show you. I did make an acquisition while I was away. A purchase. So when we went away, we headed south, and I said to my husband, I want to go to Ashford's. So Ashford is the home. They're world famous for their spinning wheel. My spinning wheel, which I wish I had more time to use, is an Ashford's wheel. But they have a beautiful shop in Ashburton. So we made a plan that on our way home, we allowed an hour to stop in at Ashford's. It's actually connected to a coffee shop, which is ideal because my husband can go and read the paper and have a coffee while I get lost in there. So my ball winder and my Swift, I bought about 15 years ago, and they've had a lot of use, but they're actually starting to become really clunky. And I thought, and actually I had wound wool and it come apart, and I had to kind of stick it back together. So I thought it was time to buy myself a new Swift and ball winder. I bought my ball winder a few months ago, but I bought this beautiful, you see it? I'm actually going to move that around so you can see it. There. I bought this beautiful wooden Ashford umbrella Swift, and there's my Ashford ball winder. And super happy. That's good. Stay still. Really happy with it. I can't remember how much it was. It was $100 and something. But I need one. I mean, I use it all the time. And the one that I've got, I will put away as a spare. But like I said, I've had use for about 15 years out of it. So that was one of my purchases. And this wasn't a purchase, but this is playing around in my head. I love spinning. I love my spinning wheel, and I just don't get enough time to spin. I think I do spin more in the winter than I do in the summer. But I had a look at their e-spinner. They actually have an electric spinner. So mine is a double treadle, normal old-fashioned, beautiful spinner. But this e-spinner, it's only like that big, and it sits on the countertop. It's no bigger than a shoebox. And you plug it in, and you can sit there and spin. It was amazing. But it's really expensive. It's around $800. So I certainly didn't buy one. But I do have a birthday coming up and Mother's Day. And I kind of thought I might just ask all my loved ones that would normally say, Mum, what do you want for your birthday? To put money in. And I may buy myself an e-spinner. But wait and see. I thought I'd share that with you. It's quite extravagant. It's my hobby and it's what I love. And like I said to my husband, really, it's probably only 3 or 4 pairs of running shoes. Like, that's how I'm justifying it, is that he goes through 3 or 4 pair of running shoes a year. And he wears running packs, which are quite expensive. So I'm kind of trying to justify how I can afford to buy this e-spinner. But it's all I've been thinking about. So I know I'm going to get it. I just don't know when. So I just thought I'd share that little story with you. Acquisition. Oh, that's what I bought. That was the other thing. This is actually the main reason for me wanting to go to Ashford's, and the Swift was the second, was a little niddy noddy. I've got the big niddy noddy, which I've had for years, but I wanted a mini one because I've been selling my sock yarn in 25 gram balls to purchase, so you can do contrast in heels and socks. But I actually want to do some mini skeins and actually do like twin sets with my sock yarn. So rather than the little balls, I'm actually going to put it onto a skein and then band it with my sock yarn. So this is so cute. That's what I bought, a mini niddy noddy. So that was all my acquisitions. Rid of that basket. I did just want to show you 2 new yarns that I've got. So this isn't new, but I hadn't swatched it. So this is called Teal, this colour, and this is a beautiful jewel colour is the best way to describe it. And it's in the high twist, 100% New Zealand Merino high twist. But I did a swatch And that's what I wanted to show you. And I don't know if that light's going to show that up as beautiful as what it actually is. Yeah. Oh, yep, that's showing it up. It's literally a teal colour. It's a beautiful, I don't know, rich jewel colour. So that's in the Merino High Twist I wanted to show you. And the other colour, which I haven't done a swatch for, but it's called Dark Plum. And that's not going to show up because that looks black. Anyway, this colour is a really rich, it's not going to show up, it's a really rich dark plum. So that's new. I will try to do a swatch because I think that will show up better in a swatch. And the other one I have talked about a lot is the dark denim in the High Twist. Well, I also now have that dark denim in the sock, which is an 80-20 superwash. And it's in the most popular colour out of the whole range is dark denim. And I will use this a lot. I know that I'll sell a lot of this colour. So that was my quick shop update with my new yarns. The other thing I wanted to talk about was I have, since I started, I've had my knitting balm. That's it there. It's the little 50-gram knitting balm. And this is a very rich hand cream that has been designed for very dry, cracked skin, but it's also been designed for people with like eczema and psoriasis conditions. So there's no perfume. It doesn't smell beautiful. It's just a nice, rich cream, really good for the cuticles and any chapped areas. But what I wanted was a hand cream that was actually just smelt nice. It was, I love this, but I wanted something just a little bit more girly. So I have got the maker of my knitter's balm. She does this, it's called a hand cream lotion, but it's in a bar. Almost looks like a bar of soap. And you just rub your hands on it. Comes in an aluminium tin. And it's beautiful. It's really rich. It's moisturizing, but it actually smells beautiful. It's got rose, geranium, and lavender oil in it. So what I really wanted was my knitter's balm to smell nice. And she sort of said no, because the reason that knitter's balm doesn't smell nice is there's a reason behind it. So it's more designed for people that can't use things that are perfumed. So I have ordered some of this bar. I have seen it before in like, it's almost like a deodorant stick canister, which is quite a popular delivering system for this kind of hand cream. But she doesn't like using plastic. And these tins are actually reusable. And I have reused them. I've put them in the dishwasher and then they become tins for notions and stitch markers. So they are reusable. But she wasn't prepared to do it in using any form of plastic. So I haven't got them yet. They're on their way. I should have them in my shop by late next week. And they're not that much dearer than the actual 50-gram of knitting bar. So I wanted to share that with you. It really does smell beautiful. So, and that way I'm covering both options, a non-scented one and then a scented one. So that was that. The other thing I wanted to quickly mention was a few weeks ago, Inga from Knitting Traditions promoted my project bag. That's it there. This is mine. That's my leather one that gets used all the time. And I sold out very quickly. It was amazing. And a lot of them went to the USA and Australia and here in New Zealand, of course. I've got the next shipment on its way. I have put a couple on my website and you can pre-order them, which means you just jump on and you pay for them like you would, and as soon as the stock arrives, I'll get it in a courier out to you. They're due, I want to say, early to mid-March. They're on their way, but I don't want to commit because freight, you just can't commit with freight these days. So what I have done, if you pre-order now and you pay for it now, you will get the old price, which was $190. When the stock arrives and I do a recalculation with the exact freight and duty and taxes and everything, there will be a slight price rise, which disappoints me, but it's just the way of the world. Freight keeps going up. Raw materials keep going up. The lady that makes them for me in South Africa, they've got some real problems in South Africa with power going off and people are needing to use generators, so therefore gas and diesel's in a short supply. So all sorts of manufacturing is suffering, and of course that affects the price of the leather. So there will be a small price increase. It won't be crazy, but if you buy them now, I'll honour the original price. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. There's probably only about 10 left on pre-order. I did say it was going to be a really chatty episode. Maybe this is what happens after you have a holiday. It was a wonderful holiday, but like I said in the beginning of my show, I wanted to also just remember those that in that heartbreaking situation up in the North Island with those floods. And I know that the knitting community is very generous. So there is, I think there's a couple of Give a Little pages set up. My donation went to the Red Cross. I like to think that they do some really good things. Yeah, just recap in Instagram and Facebook, Unwind to Knit with me. All my show notes will be below. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments. I always read and reply to the comments. It's great hearing from everyone. But also the community Facebook page is somewhere where we can all just contribute, and you can show what you're doing and yeah, share what's going on in your knitting journey. Hopefully you haven't had any big disasters like mine. My cardigan, but anyway, it excites me that I'm going to recast on a new one. That's me done. Thank you very much for sharing this time with me. I hope you've enjoyed the content, and I hope to see you in a couple of weeks. I hope wherever you are, things are nice and settled, and there's not too many disasters going on around you. What a good thing that we've got our knitting, right? Actually, I read something about knitting. I'll share with you the health benefits to knitting. It lowers blood pressure, it relaxes you, but it also, because of the sense of achievement, they say that it releases endorphins and serotonins, which help with stress and anxiety, and which just gave me a bigger excuse to knit more, because there really are good health benefits to knitting. Maybe I should use that to convince myself that I need a knee spinner, because it'd be good for my health. Oh dear. Thank you very much. Stay safe, everyone, and happy knitting, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.